Okay, for this week we learned about blended learning, and this is by Camille Davy. So blended learning definition. Blended learning, by definition, is said to be any time a student learns at least in part at a supervised brick-and-mortar location, away from home, and at least in part through the internet, with some element of student control over time, place, and/or pace. Horn and Staker argued that blending learning will be the vehicle to push the proportion of high school courses offered online to 50% by 2019, which is crazy. I myself am actually taking 2 online courses now. So the 4 main benefits. Blended learning is increasingly being adopted by educators all over the world for many reasons. In addition, in our readings, they discuss 4 main benefits, and those are: it is giving an ability to meet students' educational needs, improving student-to-student communication, reducing the average overall per-student cost, and improving student learning outcomes, as well as lowering attrition rates. Blended learning does not happen automatically. Just because it is an online component is added face-to-face environment. So that's another question. Is it successful? We will find out if it's successful, but as I said about Horn and Staker, online is being pushed and pushed further and further, and it is increasing at the college level specifically. Connecting the two. So the importance of how the two are blended and specific learning goals. So ultimately, the success or failure of blended learning hinges on a thoughtful connection between how the online and face-to-face components are integrated, the types of pedagogical approaches are employed, and how those elements are actually being blended together to attain specific learning goals. So they actually do this specifically for adult learners, people that can learn better online and also away from home with people. So online learning can be confusing for assistants, whether they need help to understand their studies and who to look to for that assistance. That's why online is so confusing sometimes. So when students need help for their studies, they do not know who look to for assistance. So consequently, blended learning, which has a mixture of online learning and face-to-face component, it can help overcome this problem. Blended learning can provide a flexibility that students and instructors require. So it's flexible. If you can't meet at school, you can do that online. You can do it through email. Things that you can do on the internet that you cannot physically be there for could really help in this situation. So the design for blended learning typically begins with an analysis stage, which are steps 1 and 2. Those determine the learning goals to be achieved at the end of the instruction, as well as a conduct, so-called learner analysis, to understand the prior knowledge of the intended target audience. After the first 2 steps, added in the third, which involves the important process of establishing the readiness to blend the 2 together. Here we connect the student readiness and the learner readiness, and as well as the instructor readiness. So, reflection. I find it important to utilize blended learning because I think that technology is taking such a huge step in education. Things such as projectors, laptops, computers, even TVs. Social media is becoming such a huge part of our participatory culture that we have discussed previously in our lectures. So blending the 2 can, however, be difficult, and I think that is because not a lot of educators know how to blend the online with the in-class. And if you find a way to work it, like they actually discussed in our lectures, it's interesting on how many benefits you get out of it. So it may not actually work for everybody, but depending on how you do it, you can get more benefits or less benefits. So technology is actually really putting its foot in the door here, and I think that we can learn from it. And if I do become a teacher, I hope to integrate blended learning as well as maybe a flipped classroom model.